Yo, my friends, welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms, we're going to predict the future of the game. Kind of. A little bit. Actually, based off of my experience, seeing the relationship between the way that they make Call of Dragons and Rise of Kingdoms, there are a lot of features that they share between these games, and I think there's some stuff that's going to be coming to Rise of Kingdoms based on what's in this face-to-face with the developers. So I'm reading between the lines. I'm seeing what we've got in Call of Dragons, and I'm like, yep, this is gonna happen here too. So if this is the sort of thing you're into, consider subscribing. I obviously am traveling at the moment on my way to a family reunion. Lots to talk about there, but that'll probably be in a future video. So let's dive right in. First question, how long will it be before auto peacekeeping makes its way to the game? And they say auto peacekeeping, auto help, and auto chat translation will be added as a perk for purchasing the 30-day gem supply. This is, in my experience anyways, extremely common in this genre, that some of these convenience features will be behind a bundle. We plan on pioneer testing these features in select kingdoms after the 1.0.98 update. Now look, we've got a sort of auto-barbing or peacekeeping function in Call of Dragons. I don't really use it. I do think an auto help function is really cool. We know this would be cool because in Rise of Kingdoms, we've got that crystal technology now where you can get, I think it's up to 30 helps automatically, which is pretty nice. I think an auto help function would be where you give your help automatically, potentially, to others that have also purchased the auto help function. Auto translate's kind of an interesting one. I don't know why that will be tied into a 30-day gem supply. This is one where, you know, look, besides the auto help, I don't know how much auto peacekeeping I'm going to use. If I look at my experience with Call of Dragons and, you know, the developers share a lot of insights, I think, between those two games, I don't know, I'm not using it that much. So let's move on to the next one here. I'd like a ranking system in Eve of the Crusade to be changed from kingdom rankings to camp rankings. That way our camp can fight for first place together rather than competing with each other. I think that is a W idea. We'll be testing out using camp rankings for the Crusade in a future update. Yeah, huge win. I mean, if it's about teamwork, start building teamwork right away. It is about teamwork, and they're testing it. I think that is bang on. Since we have conversion stones for converting armaments, I'd also like some sort of conversion system for equipment. That would allow players to try out different gameplay styles, like switching from an archer main to an infantry main. You know my feeling about this. Slam dunk, yes. I want to see this. Not only this, but I would add color to this and say there was a time where there did not exist leadership equipment. Player made and talented equipment for leadership because that was the best you could do. And then they added leadership equipment. I would love to be able to take my leadership talented equipment and make it be actual leadership equipment. Investments I made, by the way, before leadership equipment existed. Okay. The response here is, let's see, where are we? The reason we added conversion stones for armaments is that there are constantly new formations and armaments being added. We wanted a way to reduce the cost for players to try these new formations. Yeah, that really kind of had to be the case. It's like a 2-year investment into a formation. And like, quite frankly, like you can start on a pathway. The way that you play armaments is to go to Legendary Pity. And so it could take you years to get your Legendary Pity. But by the time those years are up, the formation you need it will have changed, 100% guaranteed. Up to this point, that's been true anyways. So yeah, the conversion stones were a huge W, absolutely needed for the game. At present, we have no new equipment planned except for accessories. That is very interesting to see. No new equipment planned except for accessories, which would point to the fact that, okay, so if I already have the max number of accessories I need, and those are a lot of materials each, I'm supposed to make more than the ones I can use, I guess, for customization. They say, and an equipment conversion system might reduce the value of accounts with multiple equipment sets for different unit types. I mean, I think that is true to the extent that they could not just refund the stuff that they've made. That's true to the extent that you can't just dismantle what you have and reclaim the materials and use them some other way, right? Considering that equipment has been a primary development direction for players and has been online for so long, it serves as an important marker of account value. As such, we're not planning on launching an equipment conversion system for the time being. I kind of expected this would be the case. You know that my preference is in a different direction. This is just me personally, in part because I have all this leadership stuff that I started working on before the existence of leadership gear. I would love to have been able to switch to leadership gear. I also think it'd be really slick for people to be able to change around what they've got, because it's easy to lock in with an entire set of legendary equipment before you really know what you're doing. Or the meta could change, like it recently did with crystal technology, and it changes what you'd want to have. But that's not changing. The equipment works the way it works. Lock in with it. All right. We're trying out the accelerated KVK season, but entering Lost Kingdom immediately after the announcement is too fast. We need more time for kingdom management like Diplo and battle preparations. It definitely does take time to do Diplo. It could be days. You love when it's fast, but it could honestly take days. Thank you for your feedback. The accelerated KVK season is currently being pioneer tested. We'll be incorporating player feedback before the official launch. Adjustments we're planning include reserving more time for diplomacy and somewhat relaxing the immigration schedule. Here's what I'll say. I think that shorter seasons are a huge win. Shorter seasons means that when you're losing, you get into the next season faster, which you want to do. I would know. And when you're winning, you get into the next season faster, which you want to do. And I would know. Recently, been taking L's on both the main and the restart account. This is like the first loss on the restart account in a long time. It is what it is. But I think that shorter KVKs are just straight up a W. Shorter KVKs are 100% the direction I would go. So I love that they're trying to do that. One thing I saw is that they took all the Eve of the Crusade like goodness and put it into the start of like actually being in KVK. So apparently like Marauders were showing up in KVK but weren't giving crystals. And that's like, you know, like that's not going to work because the second you're in KVK, all AP spend has to go towards things that give crystals. Like obviously, like you play, you know this. And so I think you just add crystals to the Marauders and like that would work. But that doesn't solve the problem of like the diplomacy time that's needed, which is real. And like also the territory planning time that is needed. And it's like, it's real. It is serious chess. So yeah, I think it makes sense that some time be there for that. I currently don't like the tug of war style of combat. You've heard me to refer to this, I think, as like back and forth style combat, where you attack forward, try to target something, try not to get out of position, and try to immediately retreat. So it's a lot of like forward retreat, forward retreat, forward retreat, forward retreat. I think that's what they mean by tug of war style combat. I've never called it tug of war. I think maybe that's an appropriate name for it, but maybe not. Maybe they're referring to something else. It requires too much micromanagement and isn't enjoyable, especially on mobile. Okay, and that does sound like we're talking about the same thing. I hope to see improvements or return to the old system, which was less cumbersome. Okay, maybe I don't know what they're talking about here. We've been focusing on improving this issue recently. On the gameplay side of things, we're addressing the issue by introducing new commander mechanics, revamping crystal techs and past glory buffs, adjusting how rage works, and doing everything we can to reduce the burden of combat. On the control side of things, we've been gradually refining mobile controls. We continue to make combat smoother and smarter with things like attack marching and other control options. Okay, so I'll say a couple things here. And this is where I think the Call of Dragons Insights comes into play. What I see with the way combat works is that you have to like micro, going forward enough to target what you're targeting, stay in combat, but retreat before your marches get out of position. You have to very much like fight the way that your armies spread out so that you don't get wrecked by being out of position. And it's all about relative position. And I think all of that's something that I would like to see. I think it is in the point of the person who posted the question, be a little bit less cumbersome. Because like, you know, when you do that for like 18 hours in a day, it's more fun to just like commit. And I think that the recent changes to Crystal Tech did make this way better. But I think the developers have been making changes that are better. I do notice that they're focusing on commander mechanics now that play into the sort of instant proc poke meta so that they'll do better, and also they're taking steps to kind of reduce the extent to which combat has to be so back and forth. But what I think they will probably do that's in Call of Dragons is automatic retargeting. It's in Call of Dragons. So when you are targeting something and that target is defeated, you retarget onto something nearby. I really think it is so important for something like Attack March, which is in the game, but often generates for me a much worse report than I would have generated for myself, be able to perform as good as I would perform. And that might sound weird, but are you saying, Chisgule, that sometimes you want to be able to sit back, hit Attack March, and just get reports as good as you were getting? Yes. Yes, I do. I want to be able to play when I'm a little bit tired. I want to be able to send my armies in when I'm obligated to do other things, but I want to lock in and kind of play the game at the same time, right? I want it all. I do. And in a world in which KVK demands as much attention as you can possibly give it, I think it's not unreasonable for there to be more ways for you to, when you want to, have to pay less attention to what your marches are doing, and you could do other things in your life at the same time. It's a mobile game, right? I think that will be cool. So they're exploring that in Call of Dragons and the extent to which it works. And I think already it's outstanding when you fight PvE stuff. You're fighting one thing and you fight groups of things in Call of Dragons, and you'll just automatically switch to the nearest thing after you defeat one thing. You automatically switch to the next thing, and you just kind of move. I really think getting more sophisticated with that, such that Attack March generates the same reports as when I'm playing, is going to be the way that it's going to go. And I think it's for sure the way it's going to go. Guys, AI is going to take over the world. I don't know if you know this yet, but we can embrace that. I'd like to be able to block or hide unnecessary buttons in PC, buttons that are already bound to hotkeys that don't need to be displayed at present when an enemy approaches. I'd like to click it's easy to click buttons instead of by accident instead of doing what you wanted to do. We're currently planning to improve the way troop interactions are displayed on PC to prevent misclicks, blocking your line of sight. I have at times clicked on the chat when I'm trying to do something else. And I feel like there are reasons why I'm looking at very specific parts of combat on specific parts of the screen. I can't think of them offhand, but what I'll say is I like that they're looking at this. Yes, most of the interface probably is not needed when I'm field fighting, or in the very least, I don't know, when I'm right clicking, it's I'm not trying to click on the chat in those moments. So I'm sure there's something elegant there, and I'm glad that they're looking at it. Cool. Right now, we can only remove governors from an alliance pass list one by one, which is very tedious. It would be great if you could add a batch removal. That seems reasonable. They say thanks. We'll try to implement that feature. It's too easy to get the lowest braving the odds rating in field battles. It makes me not want to fight anymore. As someone who, on stream, got the worst cavalry port of my life last KVK, with all legendary equipment, I think some of it's even talented, and it's got iconic tiers, and honestly, the kinds of armaments that people were like, wow, I wish I had some of those, and I still traded 18%. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. We're working on adjusting the categorization and presentation of battle rankings to prevent or address this issue. I don't think that's the issue. Here's my take, okay? My take is that the disparity between the tech and advantages you can have and the stuff you don't, it's too big. You just trade too negative. But the answer is obviously you need to be able to tech up. Obviously you need to be able to have stats and have an advantage. And there's a difference between that, when you have those things and you don't. But I don't know, man. I've ranked well in competitive games. I understand how to play. Okay, Rise of Kingdoms. I've been playing for 7 years. So the fact that I can roll up with good stuff, feel like I'm genuinely trying, and get so wrecked, I don't know. I think there's something there. Not just the presentation of the information, but How is it possible to know what you're doing and end up in that spot? Anyways, I fight hard in field battle, spending lots of speed ups and resources or heal troops. I can't get many kill points because my poor skills or low level of development, so I don't get any recognition for the Kingdom community. I'd like for the devs to guide players to value the contributions of players like me. This is a slam dunk must do. The devs have to do this. We agree we've previously somewhat neglected factoring things like Sev Wounded into a player's contributions. I mean, we literally have a category of name for players that chase kill points. It's KP chasers, right? People operating not on behalf of the objectives of the kingdom, but on behalf of their own KP chasing objectives. There's like being where the action is not supposed to be is actually a real problem affecting real governors. We're now trying to design a new metric distinct from KP, which will reflect the overall contribution of hard-fighting governors to their kingdoms in KVK battles. Yeah, I mean, I've played a lot of different games, okay, and seen a lot of different things, and I think this is very hard to do, but when done well, would be really exceptional. So, yes, I think that's something that looks at, like, were you in the right fights, and, like, you know, in different genres of game entirely, when you have someone who fulfills a tank role, right? Like, they're judged not based on KOs, but they're judged based on soaking damage. Now, the way the game works now, saying, wow, you're amazing because someone runs in like a clown and it's just like, you know, trading super negative and not doing anything, like, that's not it either. So I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's cool that they're looking at it, all right? We also plan to redesign a number of systems around this new metric, including KVK battle reports and profile data, as well as some rankings and KVK rewards, such as Crusader achievements. That's cool, man. I mean, they already give heal points, right? They give heal points in the Crusader leaderboard, lost troop points. I think there's something there, and I love that they're chasing it. All in all, I would say the game direction has generally been really good. And I love the developers between their games, Rise of Kingdoms and Call of Dragons, are trying to find the things that are disproportionate. When they work in one game, they put them in another. And I think some of what we're seeing here, we will see from Call of Dragons make its way to Rise of Kingdoms. Like an auto retargeting, aka a stronger attack march, would be really cool. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm sure you heard my kids maybe in the background slamming on the piano upstairs, so it sounds like I might need to go run up there and figure out what's next. They're up from their nap. So if you enjoyed this one, throw a like on here, subscribe. All right, until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.